Hello friends, how are you? Welcome to Japan Study Center. Today we are going to see the chapter of geography, and what is our topic today? Insolation and temperature. There is a most important chapter and important point is arrive here. Insolation. What do you mean to hear the insolation? The insolation is as known as solar radiation. The solar radiation definition here. The sun is the primary source of energy on the earth. You know that the sun is the primary source of energy on the earth, and this energy is radiated in all direction into space through the short waves. This known as the solar radiation. You understand what is solar radiation? Solar radiation in this energy is radiated in all direction into space through the short wave, and this is known as the solar radiation. Only 2 billions are 2 unit of energy out of the 1 billion unit of their energy radiated by the sun of the total solar radiation and reach the earth as a surface. And this small proportion of the solar radiation is of a great importance as it is the only a major source of energy on the earth from most of the physical and biological phenomena. Incoming solar radiation through the short wave is termed as a insolation. The amount of insolation received on the Earth's surface is far less than that is radiated from the sun because of the small size of the Earth, and it is a distance from the sun. Moreover, water vapor, dust particles, ozone and other gases present in the atmosphere absorb a small amount of insolation. There is an important line. There are water vapor, dust particle, ozone and other gases present in the atmosphere absorb a small amount of insolation. And the point, sun is the primary source of energy of the earth. Okay, and insolation is the incoming solar radiation. The next year, factors influencing to the insolation. The amount of insolation received on the earth as a surface is not uniform everywhere. It is varied from place to place and from time to time. You know that it is various from place to place and from a time to time. The tropical zone is receive the maximum annual insolation. In the gradually decrease to about the pole, insolation is more in a summer and less in a winter. There is important insolation is more in a summer and less in a winter. The following factor influence amount of the insolation received. The first year, the angle of incidence. The angle of incidence, duration of the day, daily sunlight period, and transparency of the atmosphere. The point here, the angle of incidence. The angle of incidence is important. Seeing the earth as a round, the sun as a ray strike the surface of at a different angle at a different place. The angle formed by the sun as a ray with the transit of the circle. Here the point is called angle of incidence. What is the angle of incidence? Since the earth is round, the sun as a ray strike their surface at a different angle, a different place. The angle formed by the sun as a ray with the transit of the earth as a circle at the point is called angle of incidence. Its influence their insolation is a two-way. There is important influence their insolation is a two-way. First, when the sun is almost overhead. The sun is almost overhead and the ray of the sun are vertically. Vertically is important. The angle of the incidence is a large enough there concentrate in the small area given a more amount of insolation at that place. If the sun as a ray or the oblique angle of incidence is smaller and sun as a ray has to be heat up a great area, resulting in the less amount of the insolation received there. And secondary, the sun as a ray with a small angle transfer more of the atmosphere than the ray striking at the large angle. And the longer the path of the sun is ray, and greater is the amount of the deflection and absorption of the heat by atmosphere. As a result, the intensities of the insolation at a place is use. There is the most important here. As a result, the intensities of the insolation at a place is a less. And important here, this diagram, the effect of angle of incidence is a insolation. There is a most important diagram show your screen. There is a effect of the angle of incidence. There is important, the sun is the angle here. Here show the angle of atmosphere a weak and the zero is the sun rays and perpendicular to here. And perpendicular ray is the there is go to this side and there are incidence on isolation. Second here, the duration of the day. The duration of the day the varies from place to place and season to season. It is decide the amount of the insolation received on the earth as a surface. The longer the duration of the day, the greater is there is amount of insolation received. Conversely, the shorter the duration of their day lead to the receptive of the less insolation. And third point here, transparency of the atmosphere. Transparency of the atmosphere is an important point. The transparency of the atmosphere also determines the amount of insolation reaching the earth as a surface. The transparent depend upon to the cloud cover, it is a thickness, dust particles and water vapors. As they reflect, absorb or transmit insulations and things cloudily hinder their insulation to be reached the earth while the clear sky help it is to reach the surface. The water vapor absorb to insulation and resulting in the less amount of the insulation reaching their surface. The next era, heating and cooling of atmosphere. There is an important phenomenon here. The heating and cooling of the atmosphere. Sun is the ultimate is a source of atmospheric heat and energy, but its effect is not direct. For example, as we climb a mountain or ascended in their atmosphere, temperature become slightly lower rather than to higher as we might expect. And this is because of the mechanism of heating the atmosphere is not a simple and there are four heating processes directly responsible for the heating the atmosphere and they are radiation, conductions, convections and advections. There is a most important point here heating and cooling the atmosphere. There is a 4 point is the most important. The first point here, a radiation. The radiation is the process by which the solar energy reaches the earth and the earth loses energy to the outer space. When the source of heat transmits the heat directly to an object through the heat waves, it is known as the radiation process. In this process, heat travels through their empty space. The waste amount of the heat energy coming to the and leaving the earth is in the form of radiation. The following fact about the radiation are nothing. The first effect here, all the objects whether hot or cold emit radiate energy continuously. And second here, hotter is the object radiate a more energy per unit area than colder object. And third here, temperature of on the object determine the wavelength of radiation. The temperature and wavelength are inversely is radiated. The hotter the object, shorter is the length of the wave. And fourth point here, insulation is reaches the earth as a surface in a short waves and heat is the radiated from the earth is a longer wave. That is important. You will be amused to be now that is atmosphere is a transparent to be short waves and a quick to the longer wave. Here the energies are leaving their earth as a surface and terrestrial or radiation heat up to the atmosphere more than the incoming solar radiation and insolation. That is important. The next here is a conductions. Conduction is here when the two objects of a unequal temperature come in contact with each other. The heat energy flow from to the warmer object to the colder object. There is an important a warmer's object to the cooler's object, and this process of heat transfer is known as a conduction. You know that the each other there is the when the two objects are in equal temperature is a unequal temperature come in contact with each other. The heat energy flow from to the warmer object to the colder object. The warm object to the colder object is a process. The heat transfer is known as the conduction, and this flow is continued till the temperature of the both the object become equal or the contact is broken. The conductions in the atmosphere occur at the zone of the contact between to the atmosphere and earth as a surface. However, this is a minor method of the heat transfer in a term of the warming their atmosphere, since it is only affect the air close to the earth as a surface. The next third point, convection. The convection is a transfer of heat by movement of a mass or substance from one place to another. Generally, vertical is called convection. You know that the transfer of heat by the movement of a mass or a substance from one place to another, or generally is a vertically is called convection. And this air of the lower layer of the atmosphere get heated either by their earth as a radiation or by the conduction. The heatings of the air lead to be expansion. Its density is decreasing and it moves upward. And continually ascent of the heated air creates a vacuum in the lower layers of the atmosphere. As a consequence, is a cooler airs come down and fill the vacuum, leading to be a convection. And the cycling movement associated with their convectionally process in atmosphere transfer heat from to the lower layer to the upper layer and heat up to the atmosphere. The fourth year, advection. The wind carry of the temperature of one place to another. There is a factor, it is the most important. Wind has a carry to temperature of the one place to another. The temperature of place will be rise if it is less on the path of the winds is coming from a warmer regions. The temperature will be fall if the place lies on the path of the winds is blowing from the cold region. And this process of the horizontal transport of heat by wind is known as the advection. That is the most important point for here.